So in this video, I want to talk about two very, very important things. And that is A, listening to and trying your best to understand the rough, and then B, communication when you're working with an artist. So I've got a song open over here. This is an album I'm mixing for a new artist that I just started working with. And we're going to have a quick listen to the rough mix of a song over here. So let's just play from here. And I'm going to make sure this is soloed. Oh, I guess I have to make sure that it's unmuted as well. Okay, so a couple things are evident here. I can hear instantly that a lot of work has been done in terms of the artist dialing in the vocal sounds that you want, the different layers, a lot of pre-production in terms of effects, delays, stuff that was printed, stuff that was committed to. This is a very good thing. Now, when I listen to the drums come in, I can also hear how somehow, I don't know how, but I can hear, I guess it's because I've listened to enough music or mixed enough music that I can hear how the drummer's playing and what the vibe is. And I know how I feel like I want to be impacted by that part, but it doesn't quite add up. Right here. I know what that part has to hit me like. I know instinctively. I know how that needs to feel when that hits me. But there's lots of cool stuff going on with the keys and everything like that. Now, there's two different approaches to this. One would be to just try to do your own thing and maybe pull down all the faders or ask people to send you stuff dry. And it'll never work to ask people to send you stuff dry when they've lived with something for a certain amount of time where they have lots of effects and they have lots of sounds that are kind of baked in. But what you can do is you can hop on a call and you can ask questions and you can communicate. And in this case, I happen to be lucky because this has been happening more and more lately, where I think every single mix that I've done for like the last couple years, that the sessions that I get have been Studio One sessions. It used to be before that I would get regions and it would be a Pro Tools session or be a Logic session. And then I'd have to make the decision as to whether the time it would take for me to port that song over to Studio One would be worth the time that I would save. And 100% of the time it was, and I would just do it because I'm more comfortable to mix in Studio One anyways. But the great thing about getting an actual session when you're in a DAW is some stuff might be that there's plugins that are there that you could try to deactivate. If there's automation that maybe needs to be smoothed out, you have all those abilities versus things being kind of baked in. Now, I'm not against things being baked in at all. But what this video is about is A, interpreting the rough properly, and B, communication. So basically what happened is after I listened to this, I only needed to listen to this once, and I knew how I would mix it if I approached this. Hopped on a call with the artist, and we went over some specific elements, and I said, I really like what you've done here. We don't need to do a lot. We need to, make this work. Maybe this can be thinned out a little bit. We could take the edge off of this a little bit. This maybe could have a couple tasty delays in certain areas. We don't need to add too much more ambience. But then with respect to the drum tracks, for example, if we take a listen to this track over here, take a look at this event and take a look at the gain here, 17.6. I brought the gain up almost 18 dB. And also the fader when this session came to me was at like minus 24. Now, I knew what I was looking for and I knew what I had to make if I didn't have that track. But lo and behold, you play this. What's on here right now, okay? We have a little bit of EQ to clean up some stuff that was pretty thrashy. But the vibe and the sound of this track is really what I was looking for, and it was already there. So hopping on a call with the artist, pushing some faders, and immediately saying, yes, that's it. So this wouldn't have happened this way unless I interpreted the rough or I heard the rough the way that they hear it in their head. You have to be able to almost take yourself out of your own mindset. References help, but they're not always good. If somebody gives you a reference, it can help. Hey, I like that. If it's in the same ballpark, it can kind of help. Sometimes it doesn't help at all because it doesn't sound anything like the production that you had. But then when you end up taking a listen to the rough and you're able to interpret it and you communicate with people properly, then you can arrive at something where it actually sounds exactly the way that you want it to sound. And your interpretation of that works the same with the artist. So these parts here where we come silent and then when it comes in, now if we hop over now to the rough mix, you can hear it sounds drastically different, and as it should, if it's mixed versus unmixed, and a lot of time was spent to get it there. But the vibe was in the rough, and the answer was in the communication, and then taking your ego out of it and making sure that you align with the client is how you can arrive at the end result. This is different to most videos that I do. It's not really a tip or anything. It's just a piece of advice that it took me a long time to follow, because we have our pride and we have our egos, and sometimes we think that everything we do is going to be better, and it's not always the case. You have to pay attention to what people have given you. If they've spent time making something sound a certain way, then there's a reason for it. But you also have to be able to listen to something that might not be anywhere close to the end result, but you have to be able to say, I know what they were trying to do, and then you have to do that for them. And you have to make sure that it sounds awesome so you can justify everything. Not sure if this helps. I hope it helps. I think it will help. Communicate with people, listen to the rough, understand the rough, interpret the rough. If you can't understand or interpret the rough, hop on a call before you start mixing or while you're at the beginning of your mix and get some feedback. You will inevitably get to a point when you start working with somebody where they trust you, and then you might not have to do that. You might have somebody who your taste aligns with, and then your mix notes for each mix will be like, do your thing. And that's all the notes that you have. And they might give you a reference or they might not. And they might say, don't even pay any attention to the rough. Just do your thing. But in the cases where there is a rough and somebody's been working on something and they've gotten it as far as they can, you need to pay attention to that. You need to be able to interpret it, and you need to communicate. And you need to ask questions when you don't understand what it is. And the other thing is you need to put yourself in a mindset where you need to be able to hear through what's in the rough and hear a final picture of what they were imagining. Anyways, that's it for this video. I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.